The Board, Charlie Charlie, Three Kings Cross. Surely you've played some game in this genre, those games where there's supposedly the paranormal involved. Have you ever wondered how these games came to be, what the background and authenticity behind them are, or how much truth there is to them? Today we'll be looking at the science, history, and real cases of this genre of games. Let's get into it. As games are as old as Earth itself, there isn't any clear-cut time frame as to when they began. While I can say the older game kids used to play, I can also tell you one of the oldest. The myth of this game comes from the 1400s. It's known as Charlotte's Web. Not the Charlotte book we all read as kids. No, this is far darker. The story goes that Charlotte was 7 when her mother was accused of being a witch and was burned at the stake. Charlotte escaped into the woods where she was eaten alive by the animals that came across her. But the game has a different tone to it. To play, you need 2 people, a flashlight, a child's toy, 2 chairs, a small table, and a mirror. It has to be a flashlight, no flame or candle of any kind, and make sure it's a toy that Charlotte would like. Now the game. You'll want to set this up in a room without windows if possible. If you don't have access to such a room, make sure to cover the windows completely so no outside light enters the room. Set up your 2 chairs facing the same direction, with the table in between and slightly behind the chairs. Set the child's toy that you've brought as an offering to Charlotte on the table. Set the mirror in front of the chair so that you can see yourselves in the table and the mirror without turning your head. When everything is in place, turn on your flashlights and then turn down the lights in the room and walk back to take your seat in the chairs. Take a couple of deep breaths and then in unison say, "We want to play Charlotte's Web. One time only. Do not mess this part up." Look into the mirror, keep your eyes on the reflection of the toy and wait. Don't be afraid. Charlotte can sense fear and she won't come to you if you're afraid. Eventually she will come into view in the mirror. If she takes the toy from the table, then she's pleased with what you've brought for her. She likes to play and she's naturally curious, so at this time you can take turns asking her questions. Don't be rude. Do not turn your head to look behind you or at the table. Keep your eyes on the mirror. When you have finished asking questions, close the game. If Charlotte does not take the toy from the table, then with what you've brought her, remember she's a child and she will throw a tantrum, and the level of tantrum is only elevated by the fact that she's also a spirit. Immediately stop the game. Remember, do not look away from the mirror. In perfect unison say, "Goodbye, Charlotte." Warning, do not at any time look away from the mirror. Don't look at the person with whom you're playing the game. Don't look behind you. Don't look at the table. If you have successfully closed the game, Charlotte will slowly wander from view. Once she's gone, and only once she's completely out of view, you may turn around and look behind you. You can now stand up and turn on the lights in the room. This game comes with the warning that you only play once because you do not want to draw the attention of Charlotte so that she decides to stay. And that's how the myth goes. But this game didn't surface until about the time of Three Kings Cross 12 years ago. In fact, these games came out around the same time. Now, the authenticity behind the myth of this game are doubtful at best, but there have been some people who have attempted it, and this was the result.
Stop. Yo, are you afraid?
Bro, I can't even move. That's how afraid I am.
Okay, maybe that's why, bro. It said, remember she said she can sense our fear?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, bro, there's a spider right beside you.
What the hell? Oh my god.
Yo, what the? I'm gonna film that. Yo, guys, I'm sorry. I need to film this. Here, basically, film this quick.
What the hell?
That is not clickbait. Literally, it's a spider and it's Charlotte's Web, bro. That's not a coincidence. Here, film that. Bro, that's not a coincidence. Here, film that. Film that quick.
This literally came out of nowhere, guys. Look. What the hell?
What the hell? It's literally a spider.
Oh my god.
Yo, is that Charlotte? Yo, what kind of coincidence is that? Bro, that is not a coincidence.
Like so many times, do not look back.
Bro, oh my god, I have a headache. I feel dizzy.
Holy shit. Okay, yo, did she take the toy?
I don't know, did she? I saw her, did you see her?
Bro, I saw her, yeah, but for like a split second.
Okay, bro, the game's over, let's go check.
Bro, you go check. You already looked back, you're good.
Charlotte?
Is the toy there?
Where's the toy? The toy's not here.
It's not there?
Bro, what the hell?
Yo, that's good, Aldo, that's good.
I'm gonna turn the light off.
Oh my god, I can't believe I looked back too.
As you can see at the end, they see a spider seemingly come out of nowhere. But there are 2 problems with this. To begin with, they said the phrase more than once, meaning they messed it up before even beginning. And they didn't close the game correctly. Now, I don't think this needs much explaining why it's authentic, but unsurprisingly, not many have tried this game, so the sample size is extremely small. Now, this game was just an example to illustrate the sort of games I'm talking about. Now, let's break this genre down. Horror is one of the biggest movie, book, and video game genres out there. People love to feel scared and jump. The pull of this is you can feel terror, but you know it'll be over soon. If horror carried real-life consequences and injuries and such, less people would watch or read. But this is where paranormal games come in. People like the thrill and concept of it. It seems much more real and exciting when you're that protagonist and not watching. These games start out innocent enough, you know, the usual ring around the rosy, hide and go seek. These games had deeper meaning to them, but were overall innocent children games. Then it started to get darker and darker until the games were borderline ritual. We're all familiar with America's favorite board game, but what most don't know is that the board started off as an innocent way to connect with the dead in the wake of the Civil War. No one knew what it would become. It was just a way to get closure and peace from those taken too soon. Whether or not this was a placebo effect is irrelevant, as the board has real life, death, and mishaps connected to it. It got its name when Miss Peters and her brother, who were mediums, used the board in Baltimore. When asked what it should be called, it picked its name, which it told her meant good luck. That building is now a historic site, but she wouldn't have the rights to the board for long. The business was soon taken over by the American entrepreneur William Fuld, who began to market the board, especially in national catalogs like Sears. But this might have been a mistake he never knew he made. In 1920, his business from it was booming and being compared to bubblegum in newspaper headlines. He continued to open new factories, building the largest, a 3-story building in Baltimore, after the board itself told him to prepare for big business. In early 1927, he went up to the roof of the building to supervise the replacement of a flagpole. According to the Baltimore Sun, he was standing near the edge of the roof, grasping an iron support of the pole to steady himself, when the support suddenly pulled away and he toppled over backward. In desperation, Fuld grabbed hold of the sill of an open window, which suddenly closed, sending him falling down to the sidewalk below. He broke several ribs, but was going to easily survive, until a literal bump in the road on the way to the hospital sent one of the fractured bones through his heart and he died. And now this is a terrifying origin story if I've ever heard one. His family continued to run the business until 1966 when they sold it to the Parker brothers, which was later bought by Hasbro, whose website warns, "Handle the board with respect and it won't disappoint you." As the board craze was taking America by storm up in 2010s, other people began to create more games of the sort. Some were downright silly and not worth mentioning, while others were far more ominous. One of these was the elevator game. Most people are familiar with this one, so I won't go over it in detail. The goal is to get to another dimension by going up and down in an elevator in a specific order. This game actually originated in Korea, but these still aren't the games I'm talking about. The games I'm talking about are from Legends and Myths. From an objective standpoint, these games are in terrible taste and a bad idea, as a pull of these games are summoning vengeful spirits. 90% of these are from East Asia, where it's part of the occult culture. You know some of these, like The Ring and more recently, Momo. These games are more like rituals than games, but there's a reward at the end of it, so it's not just thrill seekers. The most popular would be the Midnight Game. This was so popular an entire movie was made out of it. The movie wasn't too good, but they had the right idea. The essence of the origin of this game is a pagan ritual. This ritual was a punishment for those who had broken the laws of the pagan religion. It was mainly used as a scare tactic, but according to myth, the consequences of it were real. To understand why this game is a bad idea, I will explain the rules and point of it, but this is one you really shouldn't play. To play, you will need a candle, a piece of paper, a writing implement, matches or a lighter, salt, a wooden door, and at least one drop of your own blood. It already sounds bad, I know. If you're playing with others, they will need the same individual materials. Write your full name, first, middle, and last on the piece of paper. Put at least one drop of blood on the paper. Let it soak in. Turn off all the lights in the place you're doing the ritual. Go to your wooden door and place the paper with your name in front of the door. Now take out the candle and light it. Place it on top of the paper. Knock on the door 22 times. That hour must be 12 a.m. during the final knock. Then, open the door, blow out the candle, and close the door. This allows the Midnight Man to enter your house. This is where the game begins. You must now lurk around your now completely dark house with the lit candle in your hand. Your goal is to avoid the Midnight Man at all costs until 3:33 a.m. If your candle ever goes out, that means the Midnight Man is near you. You must relight your candle in the next 10 seconds. If you are not fast enough or can't light it, you must then immediately surround yourself with the circle of salt. If you are unsuccessful in both of your actions, the Midnight Man will create a hallucination of your greatest fear and rip out your organs one by one. You will feel it, but you will be unable to react. If you are successful in creating the circle of salt, you must remain there until 3:33 a.m. If you are successful in relighting your candle, you may proceed with the game. You must continue to 3:33 a.m. without being attacked by the Midnight Man or being trapped inside the circle of salt to win the midnight game. The Midnight Man will leave your house at 3:33 a.m. and you'll be safe to proceed with your morning. Signs that you are near the Midnight Man will include sudden drop in temperature, seeing a pure black humanoid figure through the darkness, and hearing very soft whispering coming from an unrecognizable source. If you experience any of these, it is advised that you leave the area to avoid the Midnight Man. When it comes to authenticity, it's best to see with your own eyes, but unfortunately, neither me nor anyone I know has played it, so we need to look at other stories. And what better place in the world's most trustworthy site, Reddit? In all seriousness, digging around the corners of the internet to see what I could find, I stumbled upon a strange story on an obscure website. Before getting into the story, I noticed something about the author. They were very, very strange. The name and profile is of the supernatural character in the TV show. That's not the strange part. The strange part is the sheer amount of catalogs that Charlie has written. She has been constantly writing these strange stories since 2013. Some are fanfic, while others are weirdly descriptive stories of encounters with spirits. Her last post was 8 months ago, and it just says lurks. Now let's get into the story. So a few months ago, I was browsing the interwebs, looking for scary stories. I have a thing for ritual pastas, in which the reader is told to undergo a series of dangerous tasks to reach a reward. I typed the phrase into the creepypasta wiki and came across one I'd never read before. It can be found here. At first, I was rather skeptical of it, but a month later, after forgetting about it for that long amount of time, I looked up this so-called midnight game. I found that they made a video game based on it, but that was about it. And that's what brings us to tonight. I reached my breaking point. I'm going to summon the Midnight Man into my home and risk my life. Why? Because I've always had an obsession with ghosts and demons and whatnot. So here goes. It's about 11 p.m. right now, and I'm going to update this when I'm done with the game. Put the drop of blood on the paper with my name on it, and put it in front of my door. I also had a hard time finding a candle and a lighter. 11:59, midnight. I knocked on my door 22 times, opened and closed the door, lit my candle, and let the game begin. 12:25. I was getting antsy at this point, mostly because nothing was happening. I was moving around my house slowly, making as little noise as possible, with a giant salt container under my arm. I decided to walk to my bedroom. While I was moving down the somewhat long hallway, what happened? My candle blew out. I quickly relit it within 5 seconds, my heart racing. I then turned around and decided to walk back to the living room. 1 a.m. Nothing really happened after my candle blew out. I had been aimlessly wandering around my living room and kitchen, too nervous to go back down the hallway. But I was getting rather bored and I wanted to push my luck. So at about 1 o'clock, I decided to go back down the hallway. In the corner, before the turn to my room, there's this old wooden telephone chair that I'd forgotten from my grandma. In the chair, I saw a dark, humanoid figure. It seemed to stare at me with empty eyes, and I felt myself freeze. Then the air in the hallway got much colder. I began to back away slowly until I turned the corner that led to the dining and living room. 1:35 a.m. At this time, I was legit scared out of my wits. Nothing had happened, save for a few cold spots and an occasional footstep, but I was trembling. Now, I was in my parents' bedroom having speed walk through the wretched hallway. I was about to head back to the kitchen when I heard illegible whispering behind me. I sped out of the bedroom and back to the living room. 2:17 a.m. I remember the exact time this happened, not only because it was the second most scariest moment of my life, but also because I was looking at the clock in my kitchen when it happened. I heard one of my cats, all three of which had strangely run off to my room when the game began, meowing from my room. More worried about my cat than myself, I jogged to my room to find the black humanoid. It was standing over my puffed up, frozen stiff, terrified cat who looked like he'd just emerged from under my bed. The figure looked over at me. I swear it did, for I felt its cold gaze. Terrified, I said this first thing that came to mind. Please don't hurt my cats. And with that, my candle went out. I relit it just in time to find the humanoid gone and my cat crawling right back under my bed. I turned around and went back to the kitchen. 3 a.m. Only 33 minutes left. I let my guard down. What a mistake. In the hall leading from the kitchen to my living room, there were several bookcases filled with DVDs. As I passed the second one, all the DVDs on the top shelf fell to the floor. In a panic, I tried to run to the kitchen, but fell. My candle went out and fell to the floor. I ran to the kitchen knowing that it was probably too late to relight the candle. I surrounded myself in a circle of salt and sat in the middle of it. 3:28 a.m. Another moment in which I was watching the clock. Only 5 minutes left, and I was terrified. I glanced away from the clock and down the hallway where I saw the Midnight Man sitting in the telephone chair again. Because I'm odd, I decided to speak to him. My exact words were, "Congratulations, sir. You won. But let me say, you're amazing at scaring people. I salute you." I looked back at the clock. 3:32. I heard a very distinct whisper right in my ear. It said, "Thank you, Ariel." It sent chills down my spine, knowing that it knew my name. When the clock struck 3:33, I stayed frozen for another 5 minutes to be. So here I am, having lost the midnight game. Everyone, I highly recommend that you don't play it. I let curiosity get the best of me, and I'm pretty sure I'm never gonna sleep. So here I am, having lost the midnight game. Everyone, I highly recommend that you don't play it. I let curiosity get the best of me, and I'm pretty sure I'm never gonna sleep again. This was the scariest experience of my entire life, and I don't think I'll ever be the same again. The following photos are of my house, just so you get an idea of where I was tonight. The story sounds like she wrote it like a fanfic or some exaggeration, but it is strange. She discloses the photo of her house to give a better idea of the story. Whether or not the story was real, it was creepy, and she is definitely dedicated. Stories like these are what keep the games alive. People see stories like these and want to experience it for themselves. It's a continuous cycle that will keep bringing new games and new people playing them, and the games will never die. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe.